Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my REI Secret Weapon, where we will finish The Orange Revolution by Adrian Gostick and Chester Elton. My apologies, first of all, to all of you for being so delayed since my last episode. I hope everyone is still paying attention to Napoleon Hill and Thinking and Growing Rich. Um, as many of you know, I lost a very dear friend who was also a mentee and a professional business associate in February. Absolutely adored my young friend, Drew Cookamaster, who died very suddenly and very tragically in an automobile accident in February. I was devastated. I was helping his widow and family unravel his business enterprises that I was the interim COO for all of them. So it was a lot, and I was in a lot of emotional pain. Still miss him terribly. But things have been growing and expanding for me, and I just simply haven't been able to find appropriate amounts of time to get back to this project. So my apologies to all of you. Thank you for staying tuned and participating. And we're going to jump into chapter 4. And let's get started. Chapter 4 of The Orange Revolution. You have a copy? If not, you can listen and read along. Chapter 4 is going to be the rule of 3, cultivating a team. There's a diagram here, and the diagram says the cause, wow, the basic 4, goal setting, communication, trust, accountability, plus recognition, no surprises, cheer, team esprit de corps, focus, loyalty, engagement, satisfaction equals breakthrough results or sustained success. Let's say it's your first day on the job. Your team is meeting the real you for the first time. They get the chance to judge you and the potential impact you'll have on the organization. Quickly, they realize you are armed with a solid understanding of the cause of the organization, and you display your competence and understanding of the softer side of business, aka the basic 4 plus recognition. You let them know you want to transform the world around you, but you can't do it alone. How can you inspire your team to change the world with you? Over the next few pages, we'll demonstrate how individuals at all levels can trigger teamwork transformations. Oh my gosh, I lost my. Okay. Our story begins with a newly promoted and very nervous Scott O'Neill. It was early 2004, and in his new office, 14 floors overlooking St. Patrick's Cathedral in Midtown Manhattan, the National Basketball Association's newest executive was pacing. From the outside looking in, you'd be hard-pressed to identify the source of O'Neill's worries. After years of hard work, O'Neill's devotion to his personal competency had paid off. His new job as Senior Vice President of Team Marketing and Business Operations gave him direct supervision of dozens of league office employees and oversight of every NBA team's ticket office. The deal came at a price. It was now up to him and his team to increase attendance in a league where season ticket sales were flat and the new crop of superstars had yet to emerge. Jump ahead, and this story does have a happy ending. For each of 4 consecutive seasons, Scott O'Neill's team was instrumental in NBA franchises combining to set the all-time record for regular and postseason attendance. More than 100 million fans attended games during the period. Team sponsorship revenue showed double-digit increases annually, and the team league dynamic was the envy of the sports world. But pacing amid the brushed stainless steel paneling and hardwood floors of his office, such success seemed like a far-fetched dream. In the few months since taking over his new job, O'Neill had been traveling throughout the league, meeting teams, assessing the situation. Things were okay. We had huge brands, accomplished executives, and good relationships, but we hadn't come together as a great team, he said. Among O'Neill's biggest challenges were the lack of sharing and trust among teams. In this case, the competitive spirit and rivalry between teams didn't end on the court. It carried over into the business side of the league, pitting ticket office against ticket office. When one franchise developed a unique idea to drive season ticket sales, it held onto it as if it were a matter of national security, even though there was no competition for ticket dollars between markets. The local hockey team or 12 theater movieplex had a much greater chance of poaching their customers than an NBA franchise 3 states away. There were also some communication challenges within O'Neill's immediate head office marketing team. It seemed that no one wanted to disagree with each other, so there was little dialogue. Instead of taking individual accountability for increasing ticket sales and introducing innovative ideas, team members seemed to be waiting for the new boss, O'Neill, to tell them what to do. With all of this weighing heavily on his mind, O'Neill slid into his seat to watch the Detroit Pistons face the LA Lakers one Friday night that spring. The place was electric. The fans were screaming. There wasn't an empty seat in the house for this marquee matchup. He stared down at 2 teams pushing and sprinting around on the hardwood, bodies crashing into one another, deft pick and rolls, and more than a few soaring dunks. As the game neared its final minute, the teams were tied. Suddenly, with time running out, Pistons point guard Chauncey Billups shook free of his defender thanks to a solid pick from teammate Richard Hamilton. Billups floated into the lane and sent an arching shot off his fingertips and into the net. The horn sounded. Game over. The Pistons had won. The players all sprinted to congratulate their teammate, aptly nicknamed Mr. Big Shot, on the game-winning points. O'Neill smiled. It had been a great team victory. And what was so apparent on the court was a level of teamwork that could be translated to his team in New York City. Success was less about acting as a manager, always forcing and pushing and driving change, and more about playing a leadership role on his team. After 15 years in management and with a Harvard MBA, O'Neill knew most business books stress that a manager should provide guidance and motivation, but all seem to overlook the biggest piece of the puzzle. When the team is in the arena, on the court, or on the factory floor, the team members are ultimately responsible for winning, not the coach. O'Neill knew he needed a new game plan for his team. He started with a self-check, knowing that leading a team through an orange transformation would require the best he had to offer, including personal leadership in goal setting, communication, trust, accountability, and recognition. The next step he knew was to bring the best people he could find into his league office marketing team, and he went looking for the right people. They weren't hard to find. When you come into an organization, you find the exceptional people pretty quickly, he said. They're usually frustrated by the time you get there. I interview as many people as I can and ask them to open up about the things that we could change to make the organization great. The people that I want on my team are saying, but I want to, and I think we can. With the right people in place, O'Neill called his team together to talk through the opportunities in front of them. Although tentative at first, the team pulled together to outline their expectations for the league's marketing and ticketing sales, but also for each other as teammates. Eventually, a small set of team rules began to emerge, not as the new senior vice president dictating change, but as a collective work. This wasn't about the boss coming in and saying, "These are the rules." That never works, said O'Neill. Instead, it was about building something together. We debated, discussed, and batted until we got buy-in from everyone. In the end, the team agreed on 3 commitments. Wow. The marketing team would hold itself and their partners throughout the league to a world-class standard of performance. No surprises. All team members would engage in open communication with one another, establishing clarity of expectations, freely debating issues, disagreeing if they had a good reason to, and sharing ideas. Cheer. The team would root for each other, which included appreciating great work, providing support, and avoiding disparagement. Just taking it at face value, it's a good list. And we found such lists of commitments are created by breakthrough teams around the world. Admittedly, the language varies. Instead of wow, one manufacturer we work with calls their commitment to high performance Top Gun. At an East Coast pharmaceutical company, cheer is called applause. No matter what their collective commitments are called, the concepts are similar in the breakthrough teams we studied. These basic ground rules hold sway in hundreds of teams around the world. We have called the best and have come to refer to them as the rule of 3. Wow, no surprises, and cheer. There is magic in 3, explains O'Neill. It's 3 strikes and you're out. Area codes are in 3s. A 3-point shot brings the crowd to their feet. It's 3 seconds in the lane. Our brain functions in a way that 3 things are easy to remember, and we can draw on them in our daily lives. One value never seems to encompass everything, and more than 3 is too many to drive and stick. Most significant, the rule of 3 is something that can be initiated by team members at any level within large or small groups. In O'Neill's case, a manager initiated the conversation, but we've also seen it begin organically at much lower levels. In these cases, the conversation starts more like this. I was wondering if there was a way we could all communicate more about what we're doing. It would help us know what's going on with projects throughout the team, so when we meet with clients, we aren't surprised. With a little persistence and organization, we've seen these types of benign team member comments prompt real, lasting change within teams. The result is a unit that draws closer to an orange environment, just like the team marketing unit at the NBA. Wow. O'Neill's team began their discussion with a question. How are we going to impress each other? That predictably led to a debate on regular and postseason attendance numbers and team sponsorship revenue, which prompted a unique commitment. We decided that when we woke up in the morning and looked at ourselves in the mirror, we had a decision to make. Am I going to be great today? Said O'Neill. When we walked into a meeting, we made a decision. Am I going to be great in this meeting? Have I prepared properly? Do I have the right attitude? Have I done the research? Am I willing to share and receive? At the NBA, we said it's okay if you don't want to be great every day in every way. You just aren't going to work here. There are some jobs where it's okay, just not here. Of course, at the pinnacle of the athletic world are stories of people who commit to be great. A world-class swimmer, for instance, might win the majority of her races by a margin of less than a second. Said O'Neill, it's the extra laps she swims. It's the extra weightlifting she does. It's the same in business. You make a decision to be the best in the world every day, every minute. If what O'Neill just described sounds familiar, it's because you've probably seen it applied in more than business or sports. For instance, water is hot at 211 degrees, but at 212 degrees, it boils. At the slightly lower temperature, you can make soup, but just one extra degree creates steam, a force powerful enough to move a locomotive. In business, it's extra effort in the right direction that powers extraordinary results for breakthrough teams. For O'Neill and his team, the question, how can we impress each other, resulted in a group commitment to put extra effort into being completely prepared for each day. Our preparation was one way because we really relented. Became really talented and good at what we did. We worked to the bone, and it was absolutely painful sometimes. But we worked and prepared and were equipped for anything that came our way. That was the price to being world class. No surprises. Of course, team member preparation depended on knowing exactly what was going on around them at all times. This type of open communication does not always come about immediately. In the first days within the NBA League Office Marketing Group, O'Neill came to the table ready for feedback, but his team wasn't there. After all, who wants to disagree with the boss? Early meetings were characterized by pleasantries and a distinct lack of debate. There was a general play it safe atmosphere, said Chris Heck, who O'Neill appointed as a top lieutenant. Heck explained, we all thought Scott wanted to hear that he was doing a great job. But he took me aside after one of the first staff meetings and asked me to start disagreeing with him. He wanted to open discussions up to conflict, to show that it was a safe environment in which to disagree. It was a great concept, and it really worked. The ability to disagree without causing offense is essential to robust communication within breakthrough teams. When dissent is discouraged, the flow of ideas stops. That is damaging enough, but we have also found that a lack of dialogue can interfere with achievement of goals, especially when goals are imposed without team input. In these cases, team members feel less responsibility to meet the goals, often feeling that the expectations are not realistic. Conversely, in environments where members are free to help set goals and then speak their minds about the direction, accountability for individual and team goals flourish. To foster this openness and the trust we found is so vital in the best teams. Heck remembers O'Neill doing a few smart things to spur the team forward. He readily admitted his mistakes, dropped his guard, was authentic and real. People are smart and know when you are being yourself and when you are not, O'Neill added. That decision to lead by example was key. Personally implementing a desired behavior is always the best way to influence others to follow. Cheer. Of the three commitments closest to O'Neill's heart is the idea of cheering for each other. But he warns, cheering is not about pom-poms, but generating a confidence that your team members have your back. It's not about being the nice guy. It's not sitting in a circle singing kumbaya. It's about proactively looking out for your team members, he said. O'Neill says he and his team quickly found that actively encouraging each other led not only to better morale, but also more open dialogue and better business results. If I know you're rooting for me, I have more license to challenge you, to give you direct feedback and provide suggestions. It eliminates the defensive mechanism that we all have inside. It also facilitates a culture of individual accountability because members know their colleagues will hold them responsible in positive ways for their results, and so they are that much more vigilant in fulfilling goals. Obviously, there are some serious benefits, business benefits to this type of environment, but O'Neill adds that cheering also creates a place where people love going to work. Without our team, there was a lot of fun, a lot of very open dialogue. There was a lot of noise, said O'Neill. We would create ticket sales contests internally. We would have tally boards and try to outsell another part of the team. Every day we'd walk through every single aisle of our cubes and chit chat with our people, joke around with them. We even had a basketball hoop in the office, and we'd encourage people to dribble the ball, to shoot, and be a little kid again. As O'Neill began to feel more confident in the growing esprit de corps among his team, he began to focus his attention more on resolving the disconnect between ticket offices around the league. He knew he had his work cut out for him, but having implemented the rule of three within his league office marketing group, he felt confident in the power of the ideas to overcome the competitive culture and get all 30 offices sharing contracts, ideas, and strategies. He and his league office marketing team began by demonstrating the principles. If I learned an idea in another arena or even another sport to sell more tickets, I shared that information, and I expected them to do the same, said O'Neill. The league office's new spirit of openness proved irresistible, and most ticket offices began to share ideas and cheer for the other franchise's success. Heck said their goal was to have all 30 teams sharing contracts, ideas, and strategies. But of course, there were some holdouts. There was a core of about a half a dozen teams that had no interest whatsoever. So we had to create season ticket promotions and sponsorship products that were so good that they would be envious of them, and we didn't allow them access to those products unless they participated. If you didn't give, you didn't get. It was a great challenge. It meant our output had to be world class. Likewise, they wanted premier esprit de corps throughout the league. To foster a spirit of openness and idea sharing he wanted around the NBA, O'Neill tried a number of unique tactics. For example, while visiting a city, he would invite the local ticket groups to play early morning basketball games on the arena floors. Men and women, young and old, coordinated and otherwise, would show up. Nothing says togetherness like a 5:30 a.m. wake up, hopping in a cab, and the sound of a bouncing ball on an amazing stage. More was learned, discussed, hashed out, and laughed about. There were no titles on the court. It was the world's best meritocracy. It really did help build our team. Said Heck, there was a vast range of talent from ex-professionals down to people that could barely dribble the ball. And we had a blast. If you didn't play, people would look at you like, get over yourself. If someone said, I'm terrible, we'd say, so what? O'Neill claimed during one of our interviews that he would often reverse dunk the ball during these games. Well, that part's not true, laughed Heck. What was true, though, was that within only a few months, the teams around the league became more engaged, prolific, and goal focused. They seemed to play better together, leveraging one another's strengths and picking up slack for each other's weaknesses. There was a new energy out there, an aura of winning, and the results for the entire NBA were remarkable. Says Heck, a tough East Coast native. I'm not into hokey stuff. It's not my cup of tea. But with Scott, it was genuine. You have the New York attitude of, I can't worry about somebody else. I've got my own problems. But it was a complete change of philosophy with Scott's new attitude. You started seeing change in 2 months, and it really came to fruition in 6, which is an extremely fast turnaround. We changed the landscape. They weren't competing against each other anymore. They were helping each other, said Heck. We went up almost 60% in revenue in 5 years. We put our heads together and got smarter. Why? Because the team committed to be great. Wow. Because they shared everything, no surprises, and because they learned to encourage each other. Cheer. 3 simple rules that created a breakthrough team at the NBA league office with practices that spread around the rest of the league. Interestingly, the NBA wasn't the only entity to benefit from the team's success. Word of the league office's team marketing accomplishments spread fast in the sports world, and almost all members have seemed to benefit greatly from the success. Most of O'Neill's team have since moved on to executive positions. One replaced O'Neill when he left the NBA. Heck is now the NBA's senior vice president of USA Basketball. Another is the chief marketing officer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Another is chief executive officer of the Derby County Rams of the English Championship League. Another is running a division of Major League Soccer. Yet another runs the Los Angeles Sparks of the Women's National Basketball Association. One runs a division of the National Football League, while another is president of the NBA's Development League. In other words, the members of the breakthrough teams benefit individually when their team does well, and O'Neill was no exception. The Garden. In the fall of 2008, Scott O'Neill received an unexpected call. He was offered a position as president of Madison Square Garden Sports. In this role, he oversees all aspects of business operation for 3 professional sports teams: the New York Knicks of the NBA, Rangers National Hockey League, and Liberty WNBA, as well as the sports properties area, which includes college basketball, boxing, tennis, and all other sports events held at Madison Square Garden. And one of the first things O'Neill encouraged his new team at MSG to do, after developing their own rule of 3, was to introduce a powerful new symbol. In this case, a purple water buffalo. The odd symbol emerged when a team member found a remarkable video of a buffalo fighting for survival in Kruger National Park, South Africa. You can find a link to the film on our website at carrots.com, which I think is actually no longer active. In this very real video captured by a group of tourists, a small family of Cape buffalo walks across the savannah near a waterhole, oblivious to a pride of lions they are approaching. When the buffalo eventually spot the lions, they are startled and flee. The lions give chase and quickly single out the baby, the slowest and weakest, and bring the smaller buffalo down in a few feet of water on the edge of the lake. To add insult, as the lions try to drag the struggling baby onto dry land, a crocodile emerges from the water and grabs onto the buffalo's leg. After a few moments, the lions are able to recover their prize from the crocodile and drag the buffalo out of the water. Then the shaky amateur video camera pans back to reveal something amazing. More than 100 buffalo have emerged from the brush to rescue the baby. In the most dramatic wildlife footage you may ever see, the buffalo drive away the lions one by one, and the baby is returned to its mother. O'Neill becomes animated telling the story of this mesmerizing fight for survival. I think it's analogous to life, certainly to corporate life. We ask ourselves here at MSG all the time, who do you want to be? You can decide to be the tourist watching it all happen. Look, here's a piece of paper on the arena floor and walk by it. You can be the lion, crouching and waiting for the weak. You can be the crocodile who snaps at someone when they're down, or you can be the water buffalo. And so when we talk about a water buffalo type effort, we talk about team play and helping each other and rooting for each other. And if you come to my office, you'll see a big purple water buffalo that stands proudly in my office. And purple? Well, purple is remarkable, royalty. It is different and special, and that's who we want to celebrate. The buffalo symbol, created and embraced by the team, reminds everyone of their shared commitments to wow each other, openly communicate to avoid surprises, and to cheer. It is a unique incarnation of the rule of three, and it is extremely effective. We admit that O'Neill's story is remarkable, but is certainly not unique. All around the world, individuals are introducing the rule of three to their teams and spreading the empowerment and esprit de corps of the Orange Revolution among their colleagues. Some are managers, some are team members. It doesn't matter where a person fits into the organization chart, as long as they embrace a set of rules that moves them toward world-class results, openness, and a positive culture. As Scott O'Neill summarizes, it isn't fair to say my organization doesn't get it. We all have more influence than we'll ever know if we exert that influence for good in our teams. Each revolution starts in the mirror. Over the next few chapters, we'll explain in depth how to embrace the ideas in the rule of three, and we'll share some extraordinary examples of people we've met who are using these commitments to influence their teammates and organizations for the better. Next, we'll do chapter 5. That chapter is about wow, the 6 secret ingredients to world-class results. If I'm bringing value to your life and you'd like to bless me, you can do so at Venmo, Havon Fun with Renee, PayPal, info at b&b locationservices.com. You can send me a Zelle to 502-876-2256. Cash, gifts, beer at a local networking meeting, lunch, dessert, however you feel moved to bless me for bringing this content to you. I certainly appreciate. And until next time, to your success and to your expansion. Thanks. My REI secret weapon. Over and out.